Alright, this is Terry Swoope speaking with the Chad Factor radio show host. He's interviewed the likes of Tommy Sotomayor, David Carroll, Ben Carson. I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of the drawbacks that you get, like some of the flack that you get from being a black conservative?
Well, first of all, I wish I could interview Ben Carson. I did not interview Ben Carson, but I've interviewed Derek Grayson and the other names he stated, so I did interview some good names. But the flack I get from being conservative is that you have to have a certain view. So even if I agree that police brutality exists, that there is racism in the criminal justice system, if I don't say every single person is killed by police, or if I have a conservative view on many issues, then I'm labeled as a coon, a black buffoon, or Uncle Tom. So if you don't agree with everything that the left or progressive has to say, then I'm all those things. But I do get a good amount of flack for being that.
What I notice about a lot of pro-blacks is they think all black people should think exactly alike. And if you don't agree with the victim mentality, you're going to be labeled a coon or a house nigga. And I think this is one of the things that's hurting the black community, because it's stopping us from having open dialogue.
Yes.
And a lot of black people are afraid to think outside of the box. Do you think this is hurting the black community?
Absolutely, because nowhere in our history have we ever agreed with everything. Booker T. Washington disagreed with W.E.B. Du Bois. Marcus Garvey disagreed with the W.E.B. Du Bois and the NAACP. Malcolm X used to always argue with Martin Luther King. You know, there are different factions of the civil rights movement and the struggle to where people disagreed on certain things, but people still try to get stuff done. So nowhere in our history we never agreed with each other, regardless if you're Republican, Democrat, anarchist, or anything like that. You should always represent yourself being a black man, right, or a black woman. But the fact is, there seems to be one view set that most black people have. You have to be a Democrat, you have to be liberal, you have to go from talking about white supremacy and racism. And people like Bill Cosby, who have been demented into, and this is a point that I really want to hit hard, that has done things for the black community. And when he gets accused by rape by mostly white women, am I correct, Mr. Terry?
Yeah.
By mostly white women. But Bill Clinton has many allegations of rape since he was the Attorney General of Arkansas, but we still take his word calling him the first black president.
Now, I wanted to get into politics. Who do you support for president?
Right now, I am supporting Donald Trump as of right now. I'm not in the Trump movement, and I would have voted for Gary Johnson, but he said that he agreed with TPP, and he's more on the establishment. Donald Trump has that anti-establishment push to him. There are some things I've disagreed with him in the past, but as of right now, I am going for him because I think he's the only choice that's plausible to me.
Why do you think so many black people are supporting Hillary Clinton, considering all of the scandals and corruptions that she's been involved in over the last 20 years? Particularly the last year, a lot of scandals, war crimes, so many different avenues, but a lot of people of color are still supporting her for president. Why do you think so?
So, a lot of people, there's actually a lot of people who don't like her, but there's a lot of us in the black community who are supporting her because we believe that she's a better option, and we believe that the Clintons have black people's interests at heart, and we still don't hold her accountable because there is a fear that Donald Trump is the worst person on the planet Earth. And because we're building off this fear, we're going to go towards him. Not saying the man is perfect, but like I said, if you read the book, The Clintons' War on Women by Kathleen Whitley and Roger Stone, you'll find out the historical things. But we're voting for her out of fear that she'll be a better choice and that everything will be fine if Hillary gets in office. It'll be better than Trump or even Gary Johnson gets in.
Now, I'm supporting Gary Johnson for president because I believe, he supports freedom economically and socially. He's against the war on drugs. He believes all drugs should be legalized because it unfairly targets minorities, and there's millions of black people being sent to prison every year, and a lot of these prison sentences are based on non-violent crimes.
Yes.
They're getting 30 years in prison for a non-violent drug charge. And I think Gary Johnson is really the only person that's going to change the system around, that's going to change the prison system around, change the war on drugs around. I believe the only people that should be sent to prison are people that commit crimes.
Commit violent crimes.
People that commit crimes against other people. If you're a person that has a personal drug problem, I believe that person should be sent to rehab. They should not be sent to prison. And I think with drug sellers, they're no different than any person that sells the drugs that people are addicted to. A lot of these prescription drugs, millions of people are addicted to these drugs. And a lot of these street drug dealers are no different than them, really. That's why I think a lot of these drugs need to be legalized. I think marijuana should be legalized nationwide. When I hear about some of these cases where people are getting 30 years in prison for a marijuana drug charge, it's absolutely insane. And what really bothers me is that the only people that are sent to prison that have drug charges are poor people. When a rich person is caught with drugs, they're sent to rehab. They're not sent to prison. And I think that's the biggest problem with the war on drugs. It basically diminishes the poor, and it doesn't diminish the rich. The rich is getting richer off of this. Yeah.
But basically, I want to go over a slope, because when we say legalize marijuana, I do want marijuana to be legalized nationwide, but I don't want the government to regulate it or tax it. I want to be more in a private enterprise, because if the government messes with it, we don't know what they're going to do to it. We don't know if they're going to tamper with it. So I don't want it to be in the hands of the government.
Okay.
So I just want to say.
So you believe marijuana should be legalized at a state level, not at a government level? Okay.
Still should be legal in all 50 states, but state by state by state by state. Georgia's going to legalize it soon.
Okay, I wanted to talk about gun rights. Now, there's some people that believe all guns should be banned, and there's some people that believe only certain guns should be banned. Do you believe all guns should be legalized, no matter what the gun is?
All guns should be legalized because the Second Amendment says all guns need to be legalized, because you should be able to carry. But when my military has nuclear weapons, has heat-seeking missiles, has bigger tanks, bigger army, I'm keeping my regular AR-15 Uzi or handgun, because they have a monopoly of weapons and weapons of mass destruction.
When you look at the AR-15, these police shootings that involved people killing police officers, there was over a dozen police officers killed over the last month, and they used AR-15 rifles. So a lot of people are saying these type of weapons should be banned for civilians, because they're using these guns against the police. They're using these high-powered rifles to kill police officers. So a lot of people, I've even heard some conservatives come out and say, hey, these high-powered rifles should be legal for civilians. But, handguns and shotguns, they should stay legal. So do you believe like AK-47s, AR-15s, these high-powered rifles should stay legal?
Yes, sir, I do. And those conservatives that said it are big hypocrites.
So, if you think a person should be allowed to own a bazooka?
Yes.
Well, you're straight up Second Amendment, no matter what.
No matter what.
So a person should be allowed to own a tank if they want to.
Yes.
I support the Second Amendment. I believe most guns should be legal. handguns, shotguns. But when it comes to the high-power AK-47, the machine guns, I don't believe civilians should have these guns. I think these guns are just way too high-powered for civilians to have. And you can use, they could use these guns. Like they're killing police officers using these guns.
Right, but what I'm saying is, I agree. I'm gonna agree with you, but I see your point. What I'm saying is that yes, they're using to kill these guns, but what if the government tries to go against the people? Okay, that's what people have to keep saying, because if the government ever goes against the people, the Constitution says that you can go against them or protect yourself against a tyrannical government. So while my government has nuclear bombs, big tanks, heat-seeking missiles, why can't I have an AR-15 bazooka or a tank? Which I'm just going with the AR-15. But since we're going there, let's go there. But
well, like I said, I believe in the Second Amendment, and I completely disagree with liberals who believe all guns should be banned. That's just crazy. Every person should have the right to bear arms. You should have the right to protect your family. You should have the right to protect your community. So, shotguns, handguns, but I believe the high-power rifles like AR-15 should not be allowed to civilians. That's just my personal opinion. We halfway agree, and we halfway disagree.
And that's completely fine.
Now, I've spoken to a lot of black conservatives, and I think they have a lot of great ideas for the black community. I think they talk about ways that we can better the black family and bring fathers back into the household. How do you think we go about doing that?
We go about doing that by building up the black man and trying to, because a lot of people believe that you can just sprout up from the ground and create a business. That's what a lot of people believe, that you can just sprout out and create a business from the ground up. What needs to happen is you have to have more people who get a job or in a job position and then learn in that position to where they can get a business within 2 to 3 to 4 years. But we need to start from them doing that while they're in middle school and high school, and then once they get out of college, they can get their own business going and get everything going. Now, if they're starting this at 19 or 18 or 20, still let them get a job, but within 2 to 3 years, see if they can be taught how to get a business, invest in stocks, invest in bonds, and learn that way. But you can't just come out the ground just trying. That's how you do it. Getting the men to learn how to do that, and then getting the woman to learn how to do the same thing as well as others.
I think one of the main things that's destroying the black family is a lot of these government-ran programs, because they're telling a lot of these young girls that you don't need a man, that you can have a child without a man. And a lot of these young girls are just having kids to get more government assistance. Section 8 welfare. I believe these programs should be reformed so that it allows more accountability. I think there should either be a work requirement or a college requirement, where they either going to college or they're going to work.
Yeah, well, I think there should be both.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of these young women are just laying on their ass, having baby after baby, and not really caring about the welfare of the child. All they care about is the assistance. And I'm not talking about everybody that's getting welfare in Section 8.
Yes.
There's some women that are getting welfare in Section 8 that go to work every day, that are good mothers to their kids.
Yes.
There's a huge difference between a woman who goes to work every day and pays her bills and a woman who just lays on her ass and has baby after baby.
And doesn't know anything.
Because 70% of black kids are raised without a father.
Yes.
70% are raised in a single mother household. And it's one of the reasons why so many kids, so many young boys are so feminized. Because they never had a man at home to teach them how to be a man. And I think the only way we're going to build stronger black families, we need black fathers black in the household. Because if you go back to the 1960s, 90% of black kids were raised with a father in the home.
And also, we've had higher marriage rates than white families back then as well.
Exactly. And I think we need to get back to that. Black families were doing a whole lot better when black men were at the head of the household.
Yes. So, and by the way, no, we're not saying that Jim Crow was good or that any of that was good. We're saying that back 50 to 60 years ago, our rates, our family values, and even and actually a little known tale is we've actually had more black defense groups and black militia groups that defended black people back then. And another book you can read about this is this Nonviolent Stuff Gets You Killed by Charles Cobb. How guns made the civil rights movement happen.
So what do you feel about the pro-blacks like Tariq Nasheed, Umar Johnson? What do you feel about them?
I think Umar Johnson, his heart is in the right place. I believe that he is doing a good thing for black people. There are things I fundamentally disagree with him on, but I think in him trying to build the school, I think he should have a business plan for the school, but he has helped black people and has helped black families and black boys. Tariq Nasheed has great documentaries. I saw all 4 of his In Colors documentaries, but I just don't like his narrative, and I don't like his media and saying every person who disagrees with Black Lives Matter or disagrees with the quote white supremacy is racist or white supremacist or you're a coon or a sellout. Because after a man named Steve King made a comment about Western civilization, he basically said that all Republicans are Nazis because one Republican said something stupid.
Yeah.
So I mean that kind of triggering Trump is Hitler. This he pretty much agrees with that. And I mean I don't disparage anyone from you have freedom of speech. You can agree with anything you want to. This is America. But I mean when you keep talking about white supremacy and racism and using words like coon, soft shoeing, and using white supremacist words, or calling people crispy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hypocritical. If a person is pro-black, they're not going to be walking around calling other black people racist words that were created by white slave masters. Words like coon and bedwench are racist words that were created by white slave masters that they called our ancestors during slavery. So when I see a lot of pro-blacks running around calling black people coons and house niggas, it's absolutely ridiculous. They don't even realize how hypocritical they are. I mean, as black people, we have different opinions like any other race. And just because a person has a different opinion doesn't mean they should be attacked. They should be given death threats. I've seen black people get death threats just for supporting Donald Trump. Now, I don't necessarily agree with all of Donald Trump's views. I don't support Donald Trump for president. But if a black person wants to support Donald Trump, they should have the right to support Donald Trump without getting death threats, without being called a coon, without all this scrutiny. And that's the problem with a lot of these so-called pro-blacks. I think as black people, we need to learn how to agree to disagree. We are not going to always agree with each other.
Exactly. And there's real incidents of racism going on. You have Kendrick Johnson, Leonard Lacey, Alfred Wright. You know, we had we do have police shootings where black people are innocent, like Jamal Crawford and Tamir Rice.
Yeah.
There are innocent black people being killed out there, but it seems like people like Black Lives Matter and other groups seem to sensationalize over the people who don't deserve to be killed, but were doing criminal acts.
Yeah, there's a difference between a person committing a crime that's shot by the police and an innocent person who's shot by the police. The problem I have with Black Lives Matter is they don't separate the difference between the two. There's a huge difference between a man like John Crawford who was just shopping in Walmart and he gets gunned down by police when he picks up a toy gun. That's police brutality.
Yes, sir.
That's police misconduct. I thought what happened to Oscar Grant was racist police misconduct. But the biggest problem with Black Lives Matter, they will take the cases where a person was clearly wrong. In Mario Wood's case, is a man who stabbed another man. He stabbed another black man. The police shows up. He doesn't drop the knife, and the police shoot him. And Black Lives Matter is going to yell white supremacy. And this is, we want justice for Mario Williams. That's the problem with Black Lives Matter. They don't look at the evidence. They just come to the same conclusion that the cop is racist, no matter what. No matter what the evidence is, no matter what the facts are, they're going to say the police are racist no matter what.
And I like what you said in the video. They always seem to say it's white cop, black man. But what's not being talked about in the Alter Sterling and Theodore Castro, one of the cops was white that killed Alter Sterling, but the other cop was Hispanic. And the cop that killed Theodore Castro was Hispanic.
See,
I'm
completely against police brutality, but I think we have to separate the difference between real police brutality and an officer shooting someone that was clearly doing wrong, a person that was clearly committing a violent crime. In Mario Woods' case, this man was a criminal committing a criminal act. And he shouldn't be praised and looked at as being a hero just because he was killed by the police. And that's the biggest problem I have with Black Lives Matter. They're turning thugs into heroes. When you're turning thugs into heroes, you're turning criminals into heroes. This is the problem that so many people have with Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
You have real legitimate cases of police brutality. But a lot of these cases of real police brutality don't get the exposure that they deserve. Because you're giving all the attention to some thug who robbed the store.
And another thing that really I don't like about the narrative, and this will follow, there's two things, is that there are more white people overall that get killed by police. But when you look at the percentage of people by the population who are killed by police, the worst are Native Americans.
Yeah.
By percentage by the population.
Yeah, I mean, the liberal media pushes a narrative that only black people are killed by the police. There's people of all races that are killed by the police. There's actually more whites that are killed by the police than blacks. There's just as many Latinos, there's just as many Indians, but the media only reports it when it's a white cop and a black suspect. So I think if we're going to be against police brutality, we should be against police brutality.
All across the board.
Across the board. Let's not just get outraged when a person of color gets shot by the police. Let's be outraged when any person who was an innocent person who didn't commit a crime is shot by the police. So I think there's a lot of selective outrage with Black Lives Matter. And another problem with Black Lives Matter is they're funded by George Soros. George Soros is a white communist and that funds Black Lives Matter. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So I just think there's a lot of fakeness about Black Lives Matter. They're not a true organization. And that's why a number of black people have stopped supporting Black Lives Matter.
You're right. And that's what's going to cause. If you're not funded by other black people or not funded just by black people, they can say whatever they want to about your movement. Or that person can tell you anything. And if you don't do anything he says, that money gets cut off and you have no movement.
Exactly. Well, this is Terry Swoope speaking to the Chad Factor. Check out his radio show. Check out his YouTube channel. A lot of people have different opinions about this topic.